All right, let's do this. IJ Subito, Arrivederci, Tripletta edition. Inter's treble hopes die yesterday. They're officially over, courtesy of a 3-0 pounding at the hands of Milan. I'm your host, Andrew, flying solo today. Don't know where everyone else is. If I can take a quick second to do some housekeeping items here, I'll just tell you guys. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. We do what we can to get you guys content, and we've tried different formats. That's why we added this Subito kind of spin-off series for quick hitters. And look, it's tough. Irfan and I both live in America. We're in different time zones. Jay's in Australia, Miko's in Finland. It's hard to find times that always work for all of us. So we try creative ways to get you guys content, and this is the latest. Hopefully you're willing to listen to me rant for a little bit, but I know you guys aren't shy about leaving us feedback, so leave those YouTube comments, leave those Spotify comments. We see them all, we address them all, and yeah, open to trying this again in the future if you like it, and if you don't like it, let's just, much like this match, pretend it never happened. Well, to quote a wise Australian man, what can I say? That was easily one of the two worst losses this team has suffered this season. The other being the Fiorentina humiliation of us in Florence. There's a lot to unpack. Beyond the obvious disappointment with the result, we failed to beat the most mediocre Milan team of my lifetime, and it feels unacceptable. We had 5 cracks at this just awful Milan side, and this Milan side blows, and yet they have our number. They own us, to paraphrase Gazzetta this morning. If Milan played Inter in every match, they'd be challenging for a Scudetto. They've done it every way now. They've had comeback wins, Gabbia's late goal. They've had gritty draws. They've won in a cup final against us in the Supercoppa. And now they had just what was a proper domination. And I know you're probably screaming at home, well, we looked good for the first 35 minutes, and sure we did, but it doesn't matter, guys. When you lose 3-0, you were not in a match, and we didn't come ready to play yesterday. Let's start by talking about some minutia from the match yesterday before we get into the big picture stuff. If you look from a lineup perspective, I was happy with the way Inzaghi approached this. He picked the right balance in terms of using the big guns versus using the reserves. We knew Bastoni and Mkhitaryan would start this match. They're obviously suspended against Roma this weekend. You knew Lautaro was always going to start this match because anything other than starting Lautaro is basically suicide at this point. And the biggest decisions we had to make were at Regista and striker, and you can argue those are the two positions that have failed us the most this year. We rolled with Asllani at Regista, and he played at the level I expect from him, which is poorly. And we started Taremi, who at this point you might as well just give the nickname Casper the Friendly Ghost, because he just does not show up in matches. He does not have the authority to take on defenders. He doesn't have the authority to involve himself in the game. But despite that, we start the match yesterday, and we started the match well. I mean, 9 minutes in, you have Darmian picking up a loose ball in the midfield, and he starts attacking towards the Milan goal a bit quicker than Pavlovic. The problem is, as soon as Darmian picked up the ball, you knew this wasn't a real scoring chance, because he doesn't quite have the speed you need. He modifies the path of his run. He heads a little bit outside, so he knows he's going to be able to continue to dribble rather than being cut off by the Milan center back who was recovering. And he takes a shot on goal that really had no chance of going in. He just blasted it across the face. And that, honestly, things didn't get much better from there. We were the better side for the first 35 minutes of this game. You had DeMarco crossbar a little bit later. It felt like, hey, maybe I was confident heading to this match, and the first 35 minutes or so reflected that confidence that, hey, we've looked gradually better against this Milan side this year. In the second half of the league draw against Conceição, we were the better side. In the first leg of this Coppa Italia, I thought we were the better side. So when we come out and we look pretty good early, I had no real doubts that we were going to win this match, and no real doubts we were going to win this competition. But Jovic's first goal comes against the run of play, and that was that, man. After we get punched in the face, we fold. We conceded another goal 4 minutes after the restart, and it was all over there. And it was tough to see the lack of fight. Sure, when we were down 2-0, we controlled the ball and we were creating ish chances, but there was no urgency that you want to see, and the result is a brutal exit. And at what cost? Because look, no one cares about the Coppa Italia. I've told you this up front. I feel the same way about the Super Coppa, but when you have Inzaghi holding up three fingers in the media and saying he dreams of the treble, you can't blame him for it. That's the right way to look at this from a coaching perspective, but I have to reflect on what Irfan has been saying for the better part of 3 months now, which is he's been beating the drum that he wishes we would have lost to Lazio. He didn't want the pressure of a Coppa semifinal, especially a Coppa semifinal against our rival. He wanted our players to be rested, and maybe in hindsight, Irfan was right, because not only did we let Milan KO us yesterday, but there's now this weight on our shoulders. We have to deal with the media pressure and the shame in knowing you've lost to the worst Milan side in a decade. Unable to beat them 5 times this year, that's a lot of pressure on the players. And the Scudetto race is very much on, tied in the table with Napoli, and it just feels like the weight of the world is on our shoulders as we play Roma at home on Sunday. Let's pause for a brief message from our sponsor. This podcast is brought to you by spending $15 million on reserve keepers in summer mercatos. Would not recommend it. This podcast is also brought to you by Iranian strikers. They don't score, but they're nice. The only other thing I really want to add from this match as I sit here and work through the different stages of grief is that I'm not mad at our players. Do I think our performances against Milan this season vindicate my thoughts about a lot of players on this team? Like, let's say, Asllani or Mkhitaryan or Darmian? I do, yes. But still, this collection of players is giving it their all. They're clearly exhausted. You see the heavy legs on this team. You see what Lautaro is going through, having so much pressure on him as the only competent striker. They're being pushed to their limits. And at the end of the day, the fact we were competing on 3 fronts this late into the season is a huge credit to them. If you want to blame anyone for the failings of this club, and if we do end up not winning any titles this year, which I know Jay listening has been screaming for the past 12 hours or so that this team is not winning any titles this season. And I understand the perspective. I understand why everyone is low after yesterday's loss. But my point is, don't blame the players. This all is ultimately on Morata and Oaktree for the 0 to 10 mercato they put together, because it's very easy to imagine a scenario where this team wins a treble. You know what I mean? If they sign a backup striker other than Taremi, if they manage to offload Joaquin Correa, if they don't bring in Zielinski, if they don't spend their budgets on a backup keeper. And even Oaktree gets some blame as well for their insistence that we sign younger players, and that ultimately leads to Palacios. My point is, Inzaghi and company are doing the best we can with what we have to work with, and it's just not enough to compete on 3 fronts. We're seeing that now. It's a credit to everyone that we've made it this far, but this team is just not good enough to win on 3 fronts. People are, you know how the Inter community is, guys. People panic at pretty much the first sign of a loss. I always laugh when people lament Inter's finishing. People have been complaining about this club's finishing for the past 10 years. Because it's like they only watch Inter games and they expect our players to have 100% conversion rates. Like, oh, a ball falls to Icardi and he doesn't score. Well, other clubs don't have this problem. It's like they only watch other teams' highlights. They only see other teams' goals. They don't see the work that goes into these things. And this long-winded point I'm trying to make is that we are maximizing everything we have. Inzaghi could not have possibly done a better job with the hand he has dealt. Just there's too much to balance right now. These players are clearly exhausted. So there's my 10 minutes of negativity. You guys know how I feel about this Mercato. You know how I feel about our chances for the rest of the season. But let me offer some optimism, because right now, people like riding the emotional highs and lows. And when you knock out Bayern from the Champions League, everyone is talking about how you're going to win the treble. And now when you get knocked out of the least important of those three competitions, the narrative changes to we're not winning any trophies this season. So let me turn off the negativity and be positive for all you, because I want to reassure you. I'm going to be positive. I want to reassure you. If you're a true fan of this podcast, you can probably turn it off now because you're here for the negativity. But I'm telling you right now, this team can still beat Barcelona. This team can still beat Barcelona. We need Thuram back. We need Dumfries back. But if those guys come back healthy, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind. We can win the away leg. We can survive the away trip to Barcelona. And those bodies will make a difference. The thing that is clear to me yesterday is that having Darmian and Zalewski at wingback isn't enough for this level of competition. Dumfries will make a huge difference. And look, we've talked about the striker situation a million times this year, but Thuram is one of the 5 or 10 best strikers in Italy. Replacing him with what seemed like 3 of the 10 worst strikers in Italy in Arnautovic, Correa, and Taremi is a huge drop-off. And if you get the if you get the Thuram Lautaro magic working again, we can win this Champions League, guys. I'm telling you. So don't overreact to this bad loss to Milan. I know it's a lot, but we can still do this. I am much more concerned about our Scudetto chances. We're in a war of attrition with Napoli right now. They are having a good old time playing their one match a week. We're out here struggling. The Pope's passing is impacting our playing schedule. It's just things are not going in our favor. I'm worried about the Scudetto. My main concern is the strength of schedule remaining. We have these objectively more difficult games left, whereas they're basically playing a bunch of bottom of the table sides who might have nothing left to play for, and we're asking a lot of the guys right now. I do not think we're capable of finishing this league campaign undefeated the rest of the way. We're going to drop points at some point. Not really a doubt in my mind. And if that's the case, and if we drop points, it'll just come down to, does Napoli trip and fall against a team they should beat? I have a lot of respect for Conte. I think he's going to get his boys across the finish line. And this might be a blasphemous statement, but if I was to pick a competition where I'm most likely to win at this point, I'm going with the Champions League. Less matches, higher stakes. The team's been playing at a different level in that competition all year. It feels like the clear winner. Who knows? We're all emotional about this. If we go out and beat Roma this weekend, maybe I'll change my tune and be talking about how we're going to pull off the double again. Who knows? I don't have anything else to say about the Milan match yesterday. Obviously sucks to lose again to a rival. I don't need to rehash the record against Juve, Milan, Napoli this season. You guys all know it. This one stings. Just take solace in the fact that this Milan side blows and Bologna will beat them in the Coppa Italia final. Forza Bologna, as one Miko would say. Let's turn our attention to the Roma game this weekend real quick. I'll give you some quick thoughts on what we can expect here. The stat people love to throw around right now is Roma's recent form, because they haven't lost in, I think, 12 matches in a row. But I want to give a shout out to my boy, I want to say Darren, for doing a quick deep dive of Roma's schedule and fixture list for me. So Roma's last 10 games, 8 of those games have been against the 8 lowest placed teams in the league. So basically every team Roma has played recently has been 13th to 20th in the table. And their results are 6 1-0 wins. A win's a win. You get credit for it. When we were, this thing was 2016 and Mancini was rolling out the 1-0 wins, we were all proud of it. But my point is, let's not turn Roma into something they're not, because they're beating up on the soft portion of their schedule. They drew Juve 1-1. They drew Lazio 1-1. Like, this is not some world beater team we're playing. My concerns about Roma are entirely limited to what do our players have left in the tank, because you can see we're exhausted. We have Barcelona a few days later. It's going to be a big test for Inzaghi and team to say, hey, who do you roll out here? What lineup do you put together to balance the competing responsibilities? That's what I'm worried about in this game. I'm not even slightly worried about the threat that Roma pose. They are just wholly unimpressive. I watched them beat Verona 1-0 over the weekend. It was a pathetic performance, guys. They scored a goal super early, didn't create any other chances the rest of the match. This is not a good Roma side. And hey, man, if they make the Champions League, good for them, but it's not a good team. Just to give you some perspective, let me give you some XG numbers from Roma recently. 1-0 win over Verona, their XG was 1.2. They go and they draw Lazio and Juve, their XG in both those games, 1. They are basically a 1 XG a game team, which means this is not some attacking team who's going to come out here and really test our defense. This is a Roma team that struggles to score goals. I'm not too worried about this match. If you were to rank the difficulty level of remaining matches, this is not the one I'm worried about. I'm strictly worried about what do the guys have left in the tank. So let's talk a bit about lineup decisions and what we can expect to see in this match. It's difficult to say. Obviously, Bastoni and Mkhitaryan are both suspended. So you can expect, hopefully, Augusto to start at left center back. That's best case scenario. We have played Bisek in that position before, but Bisek's defending, especially on the left, just leaves a little to be desired. So I'd like to see Augusto start. That means DeMarco needs to start at left wing back, and you'd plan to use Zalewski in some capacity to spell DeMarco, because you can't let DeMarco play 90 minutes. On the right, it sounds like there is a chance Dumfries is available to return for this match. Best case scenario is you play Darmian from the start, you give Darmian 70 minutes of action, and then you let Dumfries step in and finish the match out, get his legs under him ahead of the Barcelona match. The midfield is the tougher thing, right? Because we've talked about it. The midfield is the engine of this team. It feels like Barella hasn't stepped off the pitch in forever. Obviously, he was substituted yesterday as part of the quadruple change, but this guy needs to start every match. With Mkhitaryan out, I would expect Frattesi is the guy who steps into the role, since Zielinski is still dead and Asllani just sucks. Striker pairing, spin a wheel. Who cares? You can go with Correa, who's useless. You can go with Arnautovic, who's only good for 45 minutes. I imagine it won't be Taremi after he started and did nothing yesterday. Those are the key decisions you have to look forward to. In terms of Roma's playing style, I would just say, hey, this is a team who's not particularly... This is a team who's going to sit back and try to counter us. This is not a team who's going to try and take things to us. Like I said, watch the Verona match. I was not overly impressed with them. Sorry, guys, just trying to think of anything else to offer you here real time. I think that's pretty much it on the Roma front. I will say this is just a big referendum game for the team. I don't know what this team has left emotionally. It's a tricky part of the season. You have Barcelona around the corner, and if we go out and we beat a Roma team who is in good form technically with all their positive performances, then yeah, man, I'll be impressed. I'll be really impressed, because it's just a big hurdle, and at this point in the season, every match is so critical. I'll be impressed if we're able to go out there and beat Roma. So I'm going to go ahead and predict a 1-0 win. I'm hoping the guys can rally the troops, put together a good performance. Don't be surprised if we lose, though. Don't be surprised if we drop points. It's just clear this team is dead exhausted. It's clear Lautaro is struggling to find his legs right now. It's clear that we're asking too much of these players. And you need to just be honest with yourself and say, hey, man, if we win 0 trophies this year, what does that mean for our club? Will we be disappointed? Will we be upset? Or will you be able to look at this thing and say, hey, we gave it our best shots? And the further into the season we get, the more I get into the we gave this thing our best shots mindsets. We're trying our best out here. It's just this team is not deep enough. There are too many fatal flaws, and we've done the best we can given the circumstances. But at the end of the day, they're just too much for us to overcome. So hopefully this does not come across as a long-winded, pointless rant. As I sit here reflecting on everything I've said for the past 20 minutes, I will say this sounds like and comes across as a long-winded, pointless rant. But hey, man, you get what you pay for, and this is free fan content. So hopefully you guys enjoyed listening. Always appreciate you checking out the podcast. If you ever have any thoughts, feedback, you know where to find us. Feel free to hit us up. But I'm going to get out of here. I got to go to work. I'll be here for the Monday recap. We'll do a Monday recap post Roma. We'll get you guys that content, and of course, we'll preview Champions League semifinal against Barcelona. Can't wait for it. Just these are the type of matches you look forward to as fans. We're in the crunch time of the season. Let's go out there. Let's do this thing. Let's win a couple trophies. Forza Inter. I'll catch you guys later.